if I have you walk from here where I'm standing 10 feet and you're maybe on a slight 1/18 of an inch off on an angle, you probably won't be messed up too much just going 10 feet. But what if you walk a couple of 100 yards and you're off just by an 1/18 of an inch or whatever it is? I'm picking some small number. Next thing you know, you'll be far off. But you weren't far off to begin with. And so her ways are going to look not that far off. There's a reason why Yahweh does not generally answer your prayers immediately, because it would spoil you and you would never learn patience. And he would not know whether or not if he made you wait, you would quit and walk in a different direction, or you'd wait. Look what happened when Moses was on the mountain. The people gave up on waiting. The book you have, which is such a blessing that we have one written and is there and you can read it, tells you exactly the formula or the process that you need to go through to have all the things that you're supposed to have or that you want to have. He's telling you here, if you want wisdom, ask. However, you have to ask in emunah. Why emunah? Because what he gives you might not look to you like wisdom. May not look to you like understanding and truth and the way to go, but you don't have the eyes to see it. But you have emunah to trust it. So what's this double-minded thing? It means you have a mind that goes in two different directions. On the one hand, you have a mind towards loving Yah with all your heart and strength and might, etc., and loving your neighbor as yourself. And then you got the other mind that just wants to do whatever you want to do. That's your double mind. The one mind that wants to do the two great commands in their full context, and the other mind that wants what you want. Understand this is your requirement, to do your utmost. Your requirement is not to be found spotless and blameless. Do you understand the difference? In other words, those of you out there who know how much you fall short, and I do, you do, we all do, will sometimes get depressed thinking, I'll never make it, he's never going to let me in, I keep falling short. It's not about being blameless and spotless, it's about doing your utmost. You are supposed to be taught by someone who has been taught. That was the whole process of having Talmudim, disciples. Yeshua selected out students and Talmudim, and he said, you are my students, and then I'm going to tell you to go out and make students of the nations. Go out there and find others who are interested in learning this and disciple them. But discipling is not just teaching, like you sitting here listening. It's a much more involved and in-depth process. But understand, the point is that it took being taught to unravel that which was twisted. Because you came out of her, my people, with a lot of twisted understandings. The delusion of lawlessness, in my opinion, doesn't say it here, is this. It's the delusion that my lawlessness is not lawlessness. Did that confuse anybody? In other words, where you have convinced yourself, or the people you're listening to are convincing you, that doing something that's against the Torah is okay, it's not breaking it. That's the delusion of lawlessness. When he says unstable in all your ways, what is he talking about? Where do you need to be steadfast? I wrote down a few things here. Are you stable relationally, meaning are you stable in your family life? Are you stable with your friends? How's your stableness with your coworkers? How about your fellow covenanted Israelites? Are you fluctuating? Are you wandering about? Are you going after the latest wind of doctrine? When it says tossed about by every wind of doctrine, it's talking about, oh, wow, that sounds great. I'm going to chase after that now. Ooh, that's interesting. I'm going to chase after that now. This is all part of covenant keeping. You can't keep covenant if you're going to have this instability constantly pulling you and pushing you and having you run in all kinds of directions. The covenant is very simple. Laser focus on his words, his ways, his thoughts. In Proverbs it talked about, and I will go back to chapter 5 just to kind of tie this together here. Okay, but back in Proverbs chapter 5, we were reading this from the beginning here where he said, I want you to listen to my wisdom. I want you to incline your ear to my understanding. Focus. He says, I'm not going to manipulate you. I'm going to show you. Fear me, awe, and have reverence for me. Walk in my ways, and you're going to see that my ways work exactly like I told you they would. And then you'll fall in love with me. And then because of that, you'll want to serve with all your heart and with all your being. That's where it comes from. And that's your process right there. That is you want to know what the plan is? That's the plan. That's what he expects of us. Deuteronomy 10, 12, and 13. That's what we need to be doing.